Alexander Sutherland Neill, as known as A.S. Neill, was well known as the founder of Summerhill School and the developer of child-centered theory of education. He is considered to be one of the best educators. According to Times Educational Supplement in December 1999, Neill is one of the 12 greatest educators of the last millennium. Neill has phenomenal contributions to the education industry and has influential effects to children and students. A.S. Neill was born on October 18, 1883, in Forfall, Scotland, the son of a schoolteacher. Neill's education started at his father's five-class village school. Due to his inability to progress in education, he was not able to attend any schools anymore. He was the only child in the family who did not go further in education. Therefore, at the age of 14, Neill worked in an office at a factory. However, he became very lonely and homesick, so he came back home. When Neill returned home, he joined his father's school and became a pupil teacher for 4 years. He furthered his teaching experience for another 3 years at Fife School, where he received his teaching certification. At the age of 25, Neill enrolled as a student of agriculture of Edinburgh University. He did not understand and enjoy his agricultural lectures, so he changed his major to English. Eventually, Neill earned his master's degree as well. For his work, he did journalism and editorial work for an encyclopedia. When World War I began, Neill became headmaster for a school in Scotland. The school prepares students to work on farms and in domestic service. During this time, he thought that conventional education was oppressive and useless. Now, Neill did have a marriage life. Neill did get married twice. When his first wife, Lillian, passed away, he got remarried right away. His second wife, Edna Wood Neill, was an administrator at Summerhill School with him for several decades until their daughter, Zoe Redhead, took over. This was just what Neill had done growing up until he became an influential educator and a great contributor to society today. A.S. Neill is a significant figure to education. In 1921, when Neill arrived in Dresden, Germany, he reestablished an experimental school called Summerhill. He allowed students with problems to enroll for school. He believed that the happiness of a child was upbringing personal freedom. Neill felt that without freedom during childhood and consequent unhappiness experience, psychological disorders of adulthood would appear. Then he published The Problem Child, which is about to clarify his ideology of freedom as a protest of his experience both as a child and as a teacher. When the book was published, the school became more recognized. The location of Summerhill School changed to Suffolk, which stayed at the same until today. Despite the move, Neill's ideas remained firm, allowing children freedom to grow emotionally. Also, he offered children power over their own lives, gave children the time to develop naturally, and created a happier childhood by removing fear of adults. Summerhill School offered numerous activities to help and develop student reach for their goals. Students took private lessons or therapy sessions with Neill. Additionally, Neill was concerned in hiring teachers who cared about children and who followed the mission and vision of Summerhill as well. According to Hill's New World Encyclopedia, on page 3, Neill's educational philosophy contains 10 principles. A belief in the basic goodness of a child, setting the happiness of the child as the goal of his education, responding to the emotional needs of the child, not just his intellectual ones, taking into account what the child wants, not just what others want or him, limiting discipline to a minimum, allowing freedom, not license, and respecting the rights of others, making sure teachers are honest and sincere toward the pupils, cutting the child's ties to his parents, making the school his home, avoiding giving the child guilt feelings, and not teaching religion. Today, Summerhill School is a boarding and day school, serving primary and secondary education in a democratic fashion. Summerhill is dedicated for its philosophy that children learn best freedom from coercions. Neill was the founder of Summerhill with the belief the function of a child is to live his own life, not the life that his anxious parents think he should live, not a life according to the purpose of an educator who thinks he knows best. A.S. Neill wanted these children to find courage and be brave in the society. Summerhill School was a success to A.S. Neill and two children. It still exists and runs today. Neill did gain some criticism while he ran the school. His freedom of children made a controversial issue. According to Neill, the aim of education is to feel joy and to find happiness. Other educators disagree with this because doing fun things has been the desire of people throughout all ages, but it is definitely not the main goal of education. Education should not necessarily guarantee happiness. However, Neill did affect throughout the world on the educational systems. He had the greatest influence towards parents. His views caused parents to reflect with care and concern about their children's happiness and upbringing. By 1970s, Neill's book Summerhill was sold 2 million copies, showing that many people took an interest in his ideas. Neill's contribution affects teaching and education in several ways. His contribution affected parents as well as teachers. Teachers should really, absolutely love their students with concern both academically and emotionally. As a future parent and a teacher myself, it affects me that I should partake Neill's ideas to my teachings. I would lift up children's happiness and freedom in education, just like Neill's aim. I would also give children education to find interest in life. I cannot just rely on books to be successful in life and in education. I need to give children time to play, and play, according to Neill. With the freedom, children will find their interest and connect it in education. A.S. Neill did give me a huge impact. All the labs and workshops do nothing to help the children overcome the emotional damage. The pressure and expectations from parents, school teachers, and society give children social evils. I now have Neill's ideology to give children to live their own life, not the life that the anxious parents think he should live. In my teachings, I should allow children freedom to be themselves. I should help them to find and build their character.